think we're in. Okay, go check your screen. Let me see.
Are you ready?
We're live, everybody. It says we're live.
All right. Well, I just got the.
Yeah, check the Facebook feeds.
It says KV count.
Okay. I'm live on mine. Are you live on yours? Yay.
Well, you got to bring me to the screen.
Heads up, this is YouTube
Okay.
live.
There it goes. There you are.
Oh, I'm live. It says I'm live on social media.
We got viewers, so we're live.
Okay. So good. All right. So hopefully people can see us on Facebook. People can see us wherever we're supposed to be. I have no idea. But we are back again. And this one, we're going to start talking a little bit more about these political signs and other things that are going on. So let me make sure that I can see us. Yes, we are there. So now for everybody who's joining in, Nicole, can they see us on YouTube?
It says that we are live on your YouTube, my Heads Up YouTube, all our Facebooks. So anybody tuning in should be able to see us.
All right. So they should be able to go to the Catherine Callahan page. Oh yeah, look, I'm on there. So good. All right. Well, I'm just going to thank everybody who's kind of weathering through this storm as we learn how to do all of this. I want to just say thank you to everybody who's willing to play along and let us do this. So here's what I want to tell everybody. The political signs this morning that have been going up have been quite the fiasco and quite the to-do. So we are getting there. We are trying to figure out the best plan of action for all this. Let's see here. All right. So here's what I want to tell everybody on the political signs. To start, I saw that there was a lot of back and forth on the social media talking about how long we can put up political signs. And I did get questions on that this morning. People were calling me and asking me, you can put political signs up 60 days before the election. So everybody's clear. Nobody is in violation. 60 days before the election. And you need to have them down roughly within 7 days after the election. Now, I know that the Colts last year left theirs up for a long period of time and nobody did anything about it. Again, I'm one person. I do file the complaints. I do state the complaints, but until we have more people that get on board and make the complaints, it makes it really hard for any of us to get anywhere. So I'm going to ask that. I'm going to ask people, whenever you make a call to an official or anybody, I encourage you to have 2 devices if you don't know how to record on your phone. And I mean, you can tell those people you're recording them, but record the conversations that you are having with people, because what seems to be an ongoing situation is that Kelly Hewer talks to people like we're her children, like we don't have any brains and that she's the only one that knows right from wrong. And quite honestly, just getting Kelly Hewer to call you back is quite an event. I don't understand. If she doesn't have the time to do this and she can't get back to people, what else am I going to say? Maybe you should resign. You all know how I feel about that. So here's what I want people to understand. There is a political signs and disclaimer requirement for political literature, advertisement, and mailings that include an absentee application. It is posted on the state site. So we will get that up so that people have the rules and regulations. What I want people to understand in this disclaimer. What is a disclaimer? A disclaimer identifies who paid for certain political material and whether any candidate approves of the material if the material is paid for by someone other than the candidate. So no matter who puts it on there, it needs to be done. If say that, we have the Susan B. Anthony Club, right? If we have that and they pay for my signs, I have to put that that's who paid for them. So whatever committee paid for them. And so you will see that. Now I was just talking to somebody on the phone who's a chair, and we did have a little bit of a disagreement because they said, as long as the disclaimer's on there, that's all that matters. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. The disclaimer has to be at least 7 points. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to have to figure out how large 7 points would be on those banners that they have. And then we're actually going to have to go out there and measure them and see, because clearly we can't get Kelly Hewer to do the right thing. Russ was fully aware of it. I have text messages from Russ when I was calling it out last year. I have exchanges. Linda Smith, the clerk, should be involved in this. She should be calling them on this. And again, Linda turned a blind eye to it too. So we don't have people in seat who have any type of, morals, ethics, integrity, or anything like that, that's going to do the right thing. So we, the people, are going to have to take it within our own hands and make sure that people are following the guidelines and take this a little bit further. So I want everybody to know that you just can't see those disclaimers. Even when you get up close, it's very hard to see them. Also understand, when is a disclaimer required on literature or material concerning a clearly identified candidate? A disclaimer is required when the name or a photograph or drawing of the candidate appears in the material on the identity of the candidate is apparent by unambiguous references. That is Indiana Code 3-9-3-2.5. Okay, so it's an Indiana code. It's a violation. Now, let me explain to people. Is there a penalty for circulating or publishing literature or other material concerning a candidate without the required disclaimer? Yes. The penalty is a Class A misdemeanor. It's up to a $5,000 fine or 1 year in jail, or both. That again is Indiana Code 3-14-1-3. A civil penalty of up to $1,000 may also be imposed for a disclaimer which is not presented in a clear and conspicuous manner. That is Indiana Code 3-9-4-16, 17. They have had a year and a half to get out a labeling system and put a label on the bottom of that, making those more, those clear and more evident to the people of how large that is. So this is what becomes a problem. And you see that the co-ops are wanting their entire family to be involved in politics. So what they want to do is just take the sign and recycle those signs for each one of their family members, never paying anything more to run for these seats while the taxpayers are paying them. I mean, that's a big problem. And, people can say that I'm running a nasty campaign or a dirty campaign, but here's the truth to the matter, right? The truth to the matter is that Todd Culp has tried to have his own company and he failed, and it cost him a $500,000 personal bankruptcy. That was just in 2024. The reason why most politicians stay in politics is because they can't do a real job. I mean, when you look at people, they just can't. And an elected official, they can't get fired unless they go and molest a child. And even with that, we've seen in Madison County, nobody really moves on that. I mean, we've got Steve Sumner over there. And what have they done for Steve Sumner? Nothing. We've now delayed the case. He was able to run around the world and do whatever to whoever for 2 or 3 years. His accomplice is allowed to be out free, running around wherever she wants to run around. So it's just craziness how some of this stuff actually develops and what happens. So I want people to understand that most political messages on the radio, television, or cable broadcasts include a disclaimer. In general, these medias are regulated by federal law, not Indiana law. For information about those disclaimers, then you would go to the www.fcc.gov. So they have their own disclaimers when you start to get on the radio and the television. The other thing is that the thing here, must political messages in literature or other material concerning candidates for federal offices include disclaimers. Disclaimers on this type of literature or material are governed by federal law. So that you'd have to contact the federal election. So, somebody like Congresswoman Sparks, you would have to do a federal thing. So you have to make sure which one you're doing. And I get it. I get that the county is frustrated. I get the fact that we do not have a reputable county election board. I get that. But at some point, even if we don't have a reputable county election board or a reputable clerk, we must keep moving forward because you can't ignore the masses. That's how this is all going to get done. Okay. You cannot ignore the masses. So I encourage, even if one person has put the information in, several people put the information in and complaints. It says must political messages concerning candidates for state, local, or school board offices include a disclaimer on literature or material concerning the candidate. See, this is where it begins to get a little messy, right? We have rules for these campaigns, we have rules for these campaigns, and that's where a lot of the confusion comes from, but not on the candidate. The candidate should have read the rules and they should have known that. So all persons must print a disclaimer on literature and other material if the material clearly identifies a candidate for these offices and expressly advocates the election or defeat of a clearly identified candidate. This requirement applies to all individuals and political organizations, whether or not the individual or organizations is required to file campaign finance reports. So if you're filing finance reports, you have to put it in there. And then again, this is where it gets gray because, like, if you're a precinct committeeman or you're a state delegate, then no, you do not have to have the disclaimer, right? Because they don't do CFA ones. So that's the financial reports. The other thing is must political messages concerning candidates for selection to fill a vacant office or a ballot position at a party caucus include a disclaimer? Yes, it must. The disclaimer law applies to all caucuses. However, the material must clearly identify a candidate and expressly advocate the selection of a clearly identified candidate to fill an office or ballot vacancy or the defeat of such candidate. This jargon is enough to want you to literally stab yourself with a pencil, right? The jargon is just unbelievable. So yes, you have to have it. If you're a candidate, you have to have it. Unless you don't have to have a CFA 1 form, then you don't have to have it. What about literature or material supporting or opposing a referendum? Now that's a key one. A referendum, no. A disclaimer is not required on literature or material concerning a public question. So that's Indiana Code 3-9-3-2.5A2. So what about precinct committeemen? And I just talked about that. They don't have to have a disclaimer. Where must the disclaimer appear? Now, the disclaimer must appear on the front face of a billboard. Now, we have a picture of one of their billboards. If a mailing or other communication contains more than one page, the disclaimer can appear on either the front page or inside page. The disclaimer is not required to be placed on each page of a document. Now, I want you to know that before these billboards went up, I was already complaining about the signs, right? And so I was complaining about the signs. So when they put the billboards up, it did say you can see them from afar. So they know what the rules are when it comes to right here. You can see the disclaimer. And that's what I'm talking about when we allow this behavior. This is where the problem becomes. The culps know the rules. But the question is, how many of us are going to allow them to continue to break the rules? That's what becomes the question. So then it goes on. Are the size and color contrast requirements? Yes. Okay. A disclaimer must be at least 7-point font, and the color of the disclaimer must contrast with the background color. The disclaimer cannot be difficult to read or easily overlooked. Go back to those round ones, Nicole. Okay, So the disclaimer cannot be difficult to read or easily overlooked and must be presented in a clear and conspicuous way. Now, everybody knows in 2024 what I ran for. Now, these were placed around my signs in 2024. Again, look at this. It says Jennifer Culp. And again, there were no repercussions for the Culp family to use these signs. When you looked at them, their disclaimer is even more clear, even with the white tape across of them when she was running for state rep. This is a really big deal, people. It's what we allow the people to get away with. And of course, if you look in the background, they've got more over there. This is not okay. None of this is okay. And we have, we've got Nick Freeman, we've got Kara Wilkerson, we've got Rick Gardner, and we got Kelly Hewer, none of which are going to do the right thing, right? They are all going to toe the party line.
Well,
That is just how it's going to be.
What was it? Nick Freeman is on the Young Republicans.
He's on the Young Republicans as well.
Sure,
So if we want to get somewhere, then more of us are going to have to get involved as far as filing complaints, because we don't have any strength in that leadership, except for they will ignore, not return phone calls, and they will allow the people to do as the people want to do, unless you're on the outside of the group. Like George Carlin said, it's a club and we're not in it. Well, we're going to take the club apart because this is continuing to be a problem. It says, what does the disclaimer have to state? The language required for the disclaimer depends on who authorized, who paid for the literature or material. The individual organization or committee must include the following statement or the equivalent on the disclaimer. 1, if both authorized and paid for by the candidate or candidates committee or an agent of the committee. So it has to say paid for by Doe or state Senate committee. That's what it would have to have. So mine says paid for the committee to elect Catherine Callahan. That's what mine says. If both, okay, now here's the thing. If authorized by the candidate, but paid for by someone other than the candidate or the candidate's committee, then it has to say paid for like by the PAC, the Lincoln Club, the Susan B. Anthony, or if a concerned citizen did it, they would have to put their name on it. And then it would have to be authorized by, that committee. So it would say Nicole Kapuzinski, paid for by Nicole Kapuzinski, and authorized by Catherine Callahan for Senate. So that's what it would look like if somebody else paid for it. So this is the problem with these signs. They are very small. I don't believe these are 7 font, but what we're going to find out. I'll get to the bottom of that at some point. If not authorized or paid by the candidate, the candidate's committee, or its agents, then you have to put paid for by John Doe, whatever, and not authorized by any candidate or candidate's committee. So you'd have to put that. If a regular party committee distributes a slate card or a sample ballot with 3 or more candidates listed, campaign materials such as handbills, posters, and brochures to be used by political party volunteers, materials distributed by party volunteers for a get out and vote drive, then you have to say like paid for by Tecumseh County ABC Party Committee. So everything really has to have a disclaimer on them, just so everybody understands what's going on. So again, a disclaimer must appear in all literature and advertisement soliciting contributions. This is what I want to tell people. The door hanger that is put out by Jonathan Culp, I need to look closer at what that says as far as who's paid for that. So I think it might say, let me see if I got a picture of the actual hand.
Question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't somebody call us and say that one of these free meal things he was handing out, he didn't get permission to hand out?
Correct. So that's another issue within itself. So here's the deal, everybody. And this is the big one I want everybody to pay attention to. So if you have pen and paper, I want you to write this down. So let me send this to you. Oh, wait. Okay. On the door hangers of Jonathan Culp, it says paid for by the Culp Election Committee. It says it on there, okay? And that he's for Madison County. Well, here's the thing. He's passing those out with his Madison County government email. Okay. So that is a violation. Now we're going to have to see. And here's the thing. If I'm wrong, let me put a disclaimer on this. I'm not an attorney, but I am interpreting Indiana code. That's what I'm doing. So using a county email address or any other government resources, computers, phones, staff time for political, campaign, or election purposes is generally prohibited in Indiana. While specific overarching Indiana code often refers to state level officials, which is Indiana Code 4-2-6-17, the restriction against using public property for political purposes is widely applied to local government employees as well, often reinforced by local ordinances, county policy, and criminal statutes regarding theft or conversion. So at the end of the day, it had to be before 2020, somewhere between 2016 and 2020, there was a recorder. The recorder used, or someone in her staff used county email, and they had to resign. So if that had to happen in the recorder's office, there's no reason why it shouldn't be happening here, because Jonathan Culp is campaigning with his government email. Now, some could argue, well, now, it doesn't say what he's running for. It just says for Madison County. Well, here's the problem with that. You're going to the door, you're knocking on the door, and you're telling people you're running for sheriff. And by the way, here's my email. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. And so I just want people to be mindful of that, because this needs to be addressed. Because quite frankly, if that happened to the recorder, Jonathan should be already resigning from the county council. Now, here's the thing. The Culps are never going to resign or give up. Somebody's going to have to force them. So that's a big problem that I wanted to bring up for everybody so that you can hear that. Now, must a disclaimer appear in all literature and advertisement soliciting contributions? Number 6, a communication asking for contributions sent by a committee with gross receipts over $100,000 in a taxable year must include both the appropriate disclaimer and the following statement concerning tax deductions. So you would have to put something on there. I will tell you and everybody else, I have heard from multiple people, right, that I've heard from multiple people. Hold on a second. So I've heard from multiple people that today they have now received their 4th flyer from Jonathan Culp. He is killing the other sheriffs that are running, because people know that they're going to go and get the postcards, but nobody's asking on the postcard, like, what is this guy's qualifications? All they see is that he is a family man, right? I guess. I mean, he's only 25, but they're showing, that he's fiscally responsible, but he's still sending out all these cards with a forever stamp on the postcards. And so that becomes a huge problem on the postcards, because if you're fiscally responsible, why wouldn't you be using bulk stamps instead of forever stamps? So if he's not going to be financially responsible with his money, he certainly isn't going to be financially responsible with the taxpayers. So I just want everybody to know, what are some examples of political materials and literature requiring disclaimers? Direct mail pieces sent to more than 100 persons, newspaper advertisements, billboards, signs, posters, yard signs, whether homemade or commercially printed, portable billboards, brochures, leaflets, circulars, and letterheads. They all have to have it on there. So here's the thing. Do you have do you see it in your message the door hanger, Nicole?
Yes. Hold on.
Can you pull that up? What I want everybody to understand on this door hanger, again, and I just reiterated this a few minutes ago, on the door hanger, it says his committee paid for that. Okay? That's what it says on there. Now, Cole, when you look at those cards and they're flipped over, does it have a disclaimer?
This thing?
On the back of those free things. And here's the thing, I don't know if you can put,
I don't think so.
like, free stuff on your campaign stuff. I don't know.
Okay, I see what you did here. Hold on. Let's go back to this other one. And where'd it go?
Right there, those.
So, okay.
Now go to the next one, the next page. The next page. Next picture.
This one?
Yes. On there, does it say who those are paid for? No, I don't think they do.
Oh,
No.
right here. It's like
No,
even
okay. Right here, I am filing with the state that he is paying for stuff on the political part and he's using government email. I don't know that you can. So we've talked about this. I haven't really pushed the issue because I was hoping somebody else would do it. But clearly now I need to go ahead and ask. And he didn't do it on all of them. It looks like he did it on the bottom two and he didn't do it on the top two.
Well, I think it's that the bottom two are just the top two flipped over.
No, the back side are the coupons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that's your photo, right?
Yeah, the back side is the coupons. On these cards, when you flip them over, that's what they are.
Okay, so you're saying that these right here, the free cactus blossom, when you flip these guys over, it actually says that?
Yes.
Wow.
And I mean, do you have to, how would you say that's an in-kind donation, right? And how can you keep track of how many people actually benefited from that? Wouldn't you have to put that on your financial records? I'll have to look into that. But as you can see, Catherine Callahan, yes, I'm talking about myself in a third person. I don't sit around thinking, how can I got you these moments? When these people do this stuff, that's where I start investigating and peeling back the layers. And then the great citizens start putting in their thoughts. And so that's how this all comes about. So we need to look into that. Does the disclaimer have to appear on all printed materials or campaign items? No. The disclaimer is not required on bumper stickers, pins, buttons, pens, and similar small items where a disclaimer cannot be conveniently printed. The disclaimer is not required on wearing apparel or on committee checks and receipts. Certain communications, direct mailings, or 100 or less similar pieces of mail or communication by the PAC or corporation or labor union requesting contributions from stockholders or labor union members are not required to contain the disclaimer. So this is going to get really interesting really quick because he's paid for committee stuff, but he's using government emails. And that's the Indiana code that I gave you guys earlier. So these are all kind of interesting pieces of material. Now, while we understand what the disclaimers are, we'll talk a little bit more and then I'll talk about placement. What is the proper procedure to report violations for circulating or publishing materials without a disclaimer? So if you are paying attention, For local candidates, you must file a written complaint with the appropriate county election board or prosecuting attorney. I would file with both. A written complaint is filed with the Indiana Election Commission for matters involving a statewide or state legislative candidate. So here's the story. We're getting ready to see what Andrew Hanna is made of because the complaints are coming. And the one thing I've always heard from Andrew when I've talked to him, he's like, well, bring us the complaint and we'll address it. Well, the time is coming, people. Address those complaints, write to Andrew Hanna and see. I know Rodney Cummings is the acting prosecutor or the elected prosecutor, but he's done checked out. I mean, he's not even living around here. So we need to talk about that. May political signs be posted on utility poles or public property? Political signs may not be posted or placed on any other person's property, including a highway, right-of-way, on utility poles, without the proper owner's permission. Placing political signs with the approval of the property owner may be subject to local zoning regulations. So you have to ask your local commission for more information. Next thing is an unauthorized sign placed in a highway right-of-way in a public nuisance. The sign may be removed only by the authority having jurisdiction over the highway. That's an Indiana Code 9-21-46. Contact the appropriate office, the city or town street department, county highway department, or state department or transportation for assistance. So they can pull those signs. They have the legal right to pull political signs. Inquiries regarding posting political signs and materials on other public property can be directed to the authority having control over the public property, such as the town council, mayor, or the county commissioner's office. Except in voter registration offices, there is no state law that prohibits the display of political signs or literature of public property. So if you want to display your signs in the county clerk's office or around it or whatever, they're allowed to do that. But here's the thing. If they allow one, then everybody gets to put their signs up. Everybody gets to leave their literature, everything. And I don't know why Linda Smith wouldn't want everybody's literature up there so that people could actually put their hands on and read things. I don't really understand why that wouldn't be the case, but
that's actually a really good idea.
It is a good idea. Like they should give people access and be able to come up and, during election time, they should have those things on the wall that you can stick all your stuff in. And that's what I would do if I was Linda. I'd put the thing up on the wall. You'd have those little clear pockets. Every candidate has the right to put their pocket with their email address, their social media stuff, and they can come and pick up whichever ones they want and then replenish it as needed. So that's something she could do to help educate the community. So let's see where we at here. Who has the authority to remove or confiscate materials and literature without a disclaimer? Only appropriate law enforcement authorities acting under proper legal authority. So our sheriffs have some power. Is there a penalty for removing political signs without authority to do so? Removing signs without the authority to do so may be criminal conversion, which is Indiana Code 335-43-4-3. And there's actually a case on that, Buzzell versus the state. You'll have to consult your personal attorney if you need information. Now, here's the thing. This happened to us at the Pendleton Library in 2020 when our signs were thrown behind some dumpster and we couldn't find them. And they were very expensive. And until we had the state police show up, Russ had no idea where they were. And he was on the phone. Once the state police showed up, suddenly Russ says, well, has anybody looked over by this dumpster over in this area? Well, no, nobody looked over there because why would we look over there? And how would he know exactly where to find them if he wasn't the person who did them? But here's common stuff that Russ does too. And this was sent to me. By the time I made it out to the UAW building, I was out in Alexandria. He had all the signs up. Like, people, it takes more than just me. Anyone can go live. Anyone can do any of this stuff, right? So again, the big thing is for people who understand, when may I begin placing yard signs? State law does not specify when yard signs may be placed. Instead, this decision is up to counties, cities, and towns. A political subdivision may not enforce an ordinance or a regulation limiting the number of size of signs during the period beginning 60 days before an election and ending the beginning of the sixth day after the election. A political subdivision is not prohibited from enforcing an ordinance or regulation relating to the number of size of signs at any time if necessary to ensure public safety. For purpose of the law, a sign has a surface area not greater than 32 square feet, and that is in Indiana Code 36-1-3-11. There are similar restrictions for homeowners associations. So what I want people to understand is there are rules, but it's going to be up to us to enforce them. And then the final thing, disclaimers on mailings that include an absentee application, a mail communication of more than 100 substantially similar pieces of mail that includes an Indiana absentee ballot application is required to set forth in a clear and conspicuous manner the name and mailing address of the person who mailed the communication in at least 12-point type size. So that one has to be pretty good. It's clearly readable by the recipient of the mailing with a reasonable degree of color contrast between the background and the printed statement. And if you look at Jonathan's postcards, it does meet those requirements. And again, that's Indiana Code 3-6-4.9. So I just want everybody to know that there is the rules and regulations that have to be read and they have to be followed. They just do. And so we will start the process. We start with filing a complaint with the prosecutor's office and with the clerk, Linda Smith. This is a huge ordeal. And the reason why I would go with the clerk, Linda Smith, is because she's the county election board too. So if you want, file it with Tim Lannon. He's a Democrat. He should know the law. He's been in politics his entire life. You can file it with him. You would think that the Democrat would want to do the right thing. I don't know. And then you have Michelle Daniels, who's the Republican, and she should be able to do the right thing. Now, Michelle Daniels is going to run any interference. She's going to tell you anything she wants about me and say, no, those aren't true. Well, I hope everybody has armed themselves with Indiana Code and with this brochure that says, no, she is actually right. So we'll see what happens with that. And here's the thing. If Steigel, Bell, and Beeman aren't going to call Culp out on this behavior, because I'm telling you right now, he has a real good chance of winning this. A really good chance. And so I want people to understand that as much as possible, that anybody can win an election. It's anybody's game. So I wouldn't count him out by any means. This is a little bit of overkill already on Scatterfield. I see over by the mall, he's got several signs up in a row. But I'm telling you right now, until the people push back and until enough people get involved complaining, this is going to continue to happen. So I just want everybody to know kind of what's going on with political signs and that I hear everything you say. Do you have anything you want to add, Nicole, to this?
I'm just watching.
If anybody is out there, please get a hold of Nicole or myself. If you have been if he's come to your door and asked you to vote for him for sheriff, and he is passing out those disclaimers with his county government email on it, I want to know, because we may have a situation here that he's crossed a line that he should have never crossed. And the excuse of, I didn't know, yeah, that's not acceptable, because at the end of the day, he is to read the rules and the regulations just like any of us. And here's the thing. If the other candidates who are running for sheriff aren't going to call things out on the details, then we've got another problem. That's a big problem. These people need to be saying details matter. They matter to all of us. And until we all stand together, it's never going to change. So for the people who like to watch what Nicole and I put up, and for people who want to come on to social media and say they're tired of hearing about this, here's what I suggest and I challenge you. Instead of watching Nicole and I's feeds and bumping them, which we greatly appreciate, why don't you start filling out violations and start submitting those and becoming part of the solution? Because that's the only way all this behavior is going to stop. And here's a newsflash. If you guys help us clean this up, guess what? Nicole and I won't have anything else to post. So isn't that a better option? Just my thoughts to the whole thing. So at the end of the day, if you're waiting for Dr. Obvious, me, to make you promises that I don't want higher taxes, that I, want property taxes to go away, and all those, I want utilities to go down, that is a common sense given. I am not going to waste my time making you promises that absolutely should be happening. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you what I'm going to do. I'm living the experience, showing you what I'm going to do. And if you want change, you're going to have to decide whether to put somebody like me into Senate seat, or you're going to put my opponent in that just toes the party line. Here's the deal. This morning, and I haven't written an article on this, Ken Delabastide clearly reads everything Nicole and I put up. Okay? There's an article in the paper. And in that article in the paper, under city news briefs or whatever, Ken writes about we should have town halls. Well, here's the thing, voters. We had town halls in the 2024 election. Lisa Rinker and her daughter set those all up, went through the entire county. And Lisa still lost by 90 votes. Nicole and I are having town halls once a month at the library. We want to hear from you. We're trying to be proactive, and we're not even in seat. That's who you should be voting for. So if you believe that, pretty flyers or people who come to your door and offer you empty promises is who you should be voting for, well, then I guess you can say stuck in the mud. I mean, look at Alexandria. It's a perfect example. Darcy Van Erman's given herself an A+ up there on her finances, and that thing is a complete disaster. So you have to decide who you want. Do you want the person who says she's holding people accountable? She's taken every hit she can take, and she still comes back. She's not giving up on the people. Nicole's not giving up on the people. Actually, what they're doing is when they come back at us, we're like, okay, well, let's go research that and see where we're at with this. That's what you've got to want. So that's kind of, my whole theory with these election, signs. And remember, signs don't vote, but I've heard all of it. Like, I'm literally telling you that, like, when I'm working the polls, people are literally saying, they're like, I just vote for the person with the most signs out.
That's silly.
But it's true. These are things that I hear at the polls all the time. All the time. And we should all be concerned about this.
Well, I can't say much because I think that's the kind of mindset I used to have too when I used to go to vote because I didn't know who anybody was.
Right. So you will, I mean, that's the whole thing is if you thought that at one time, just imagine how many other people out there have thought about it. Right.
Well, right now, I mean, what is our voter turnout? We had like less than 20,000 out of 100,000 people show up to vote the last election cycle.
Well, that's the problem is getting people to the polls.
Right.
That is the big problem. Are we going to be able to get people to the polls?
Oh, and if you guys need a ride to the polls, just make sure to reach out to us and we'll get you a carpool buddy to get you there. But you got to register to vote by April 6, 2026.
And Nicole's got the banner running down there, make sure that, if anybody is out there who would be willing to work the polls, on election day or on some of those Saturdays where they're going to have open election, please let me know if you would be willing to do that, because we would love to have you. We'll be out working them, but sometimes there's more than one poll, so we can't be everywhere. So if people would be willing to go out there and stand even for a couple hours asking people for a vote, that would be wonderful as well. And it helps to have that last push while people will stop and ask you questions, or they'll say something to you. So I really encourage people to do that. What you have to remember is on the last election in 2024, I lost by about 500 votes. And the amount of people who told me, well, I just couldn't make it to the polls. I ended up pulling a Democrat ticket instead of a Republican ticket, and then they wouldn't switch me out. We could have probably won. So if you want change and you want somebody who's going to get up and actually go out there and cover the stories for you, that's pretty much going to be what I will do for you. So uh-huh. You got something, Nicole?
No, my mic keeps muting, or I'm having some sort of back feed. That's why I keep cutting in and out and muting. So I'll
Okay.
work that kink out later.
Okay. So that's kind of what I want everybody to understand. These political signs are a problem. Jennifer Culp knows what the rules are. Todd Culp knows what the rules are. Jonathan Culp, by now, knows what the rules are. This isn't the first time they're hearing it. They heard about it in 24, and they keep doing it. It's just like when Todd won the auditor's office, he had not paid his property taxes, and he gets on social media and he's like, oh, well, it's just so criminal that I haven't paid my property taxes on time. You elected it, it's what you get. Because no matter what anybody wants to say about me, that kind of you don't matter if I pay nobody can touch me, nobody can do something to me. That is a dangerous politician, a very dangerous one. So I will ask all of you, when my opponent, or if he comes to you or approaches you, please ask him why he isn't out shaking the bushes and exposing all this. Please ask any opponent why they're not out shaking the bushes or exposing any of this. Because their unwillingness to get on board and start opening up these can of worms, are they really worthy of your vote? You know what I would love? I would love to have a mass number of people come to the polls and vote for Lisa Summers, myself, and Nicole. And I would love to show, look at how many of these people just showed up to vote for 3 people. And let's look at the other candidates where their numbers are real low, that people are telling you through their votes, we're tired of you people who don't want to stand up for us. We're tired of a sheriff's office that has a sheriff that can do something about this, can help Catherine, but instead walks her out of meetings. I mean, this makes no sense. I'm calling out $100,000 of taxpayer money, and instead you're walking me out. You say it's because you have an obligation for that. Yeah, well, you have an obligation as a taxpayer to be standing behind me at the podium and going, as a taxpayer now, even though I'm your sheriff, I'd like to know this answer too.
Yeah, but look how far he got now. So he went kind of switched up teams and started following Team Linda Smith, and now look who they're backing.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, the bottom line to all of this is that people other than me have to also join in and start calling people out on their behavior. Look at Ken Kaczynski. He's a perfect example. He wasn't going to let that meeting adjourn. He wasn't going to allow the status quo. The only reason why he had a different person on that board is because the surveyor before him, they turned those seats over before the new elected official comes in. So he had to live through this other guy who sat on the board. And he even asked the guy, can you resign so I can put somebody else on there? And he's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Isn't that Wolfgang?
Yeah, I think that was his name. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I mean. Thank you, Ken Kaczynski, for leading by example. That's exactly the performance that you want from an elected official.
Ken's performance the other day was, from a elected standpoint, was pretty MVP.
It was, and that's what you want from these people. So I'm just going to tell all and everybody that at some point we have to make a change. And that starts with who you put into seat. So if there's anybody who what's Teresa saying here? When you register to vote, make sure you keep the card. So if they say you're not registered, you have proof and your vote counts. Yes, this is a very important part. But the other thing I will tell people, take a picture of your ballot, and after elections close, go check your voter registration to see that your vote counted. And if it didn't, please let us know that. Instead, I mean, we're going to have you talk with them and everything, but you need to show people how they're not making, whatever's going through the system match up to whatever's recording out on your voter registration. Because you never know when it's going to be your time that you want to register for something or run for something, and they say, well, you just don't have the 2-vote history.
Or somebody steals your absentee ballot and the elected official in House District 36, Kyle Pierce, doesn't help you get it fixed. Or Diego Morales won't help you fix it. And that's horrible. They just left me hanging.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that we want you to pay attention to. I know this is a lot of information. We will come tomorrow with a different topic. And I think what Nicole and I are going to try to do, we're going to try at least 3 to 5 times a week, if we can, to bring you a different topic of the day so that you are more educated. Because remember, an educated society is very dangerous to a corrupt government system. And then holding them accountable makes us on fire. So if you have concerns or questions or a topic you'd like to hear, please feel free to get with Nicole or myself. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to research the topic and bring it back to have discussion. Again, Nicole is not an attorney. I am not an attorney. We suggest that you consult an attorney if you want, but we are not legal advice. That is our disclaimer. So we just want everybody to know that we just do the best we can. We interpret the law the best we can, but we are not attorneys. We have never claimed to be attorneys, and we are not going to, well, I shouldn't say that. Life is still young. I guess I could go to law school. It's just 3 years. So, that's kind of the story we're at. So if there's anything else we can help you guys with, let us know. I hope more and more people, if you want to help, don't put a Culp sign in your yard. Reject it. But I'm telling you, I don't know how many candidates I've talked to, Nicole, and they're like, Culp, nobody believes in Culp. Nobody thinks Culp can win.
No, Culp comes on the name.
Only a small section of voters are educated.
Right.
There's a lot of voters out there that are not part of our inner circle that have no idea.
Right. Hey, did you want to talk about the poll worker information before?
Oh, yes. So that's right. I knew there was one more thing. If you want to be a poll worker, now, Nicole and I are very confused by all this. Evidently, you can call Kelly, it might not ever get back to you, or you can contact Tim Dietrich. Go down to Tim Dietrich.
Okay, hold on. I just wanted to show where I got that. So if you go up here to the top, oh, you can't see that on that screen. Well, this is the Madison County, Indiana Election Office website.
Okay. Now, here's what I want to point out to everybody. Kelly Hewer is not using a government account for her email. And it appears neither is Timothy Dietrich. So the question becomes, why is Jonathan Culp?
Ouch.
So I just want everybody to understand that you can contact them. I would not leave her a message. I would make sure I have it in writing. If you were ignored, I would follow up. I would do those things so that I have something in written documentation. When you go, can you click on the poll worker here on the election site?
On the election complaint thing before we get off. So hold on. Wait, repeat. What'd you say to click on?
Can you go to the poll? It has a poll worker link. Is this what comes up when you hit it?
Guest area.
Because when I was there yesterday, I couldn't get it. Wouldn't when I hit poll worker, it wouldn't take me anywhere. So maybe it's working now. I don't know. So like where it says clerk's office, voter information, candidate resource, those kind of things, they had a poll worker.
Oh, this is interesting. This took me to a new screen. And then,
We can't see it.
oh, I see now. Okay, this is where it took me. It took me to this right here.
Mhm.
Then when I tried to go back, it took me to the main website.
So when you went to the county election board page, polling election results, poll workers right there. When you click that, what happens?
It takes me back to this page.
It did take you to the Kelly and
Just the same page that I'm already on. But if I tried to find this, so let's go to the Madison County election or just the Madison County website just to see how hard it is to find this. Oh, they've changed it since the last time I was on here. So they do give it as a scroller. But even at that, okay, they've moved some stuff over here. Okay, they have updated it since last time I complained.
yeah, this is different from like 2 days ago.
Did you say it's different from 2 days ago?
And then when you click on right there where it says poll workers, what happens?
To the left?
Yeah. Okay, so that's new. It wasn't 2 days ago, it wasn't working like that. So there you go. It's working now. So I would encourage people, that's how you get, if you want to be a poll worker. Here's the thing, some people, you know, want to be a poll watcher. Go get paid to do this. They always say they don't have enough people. Well, go do it. And then like call them out if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Hey, note that every time we complain, something else gets fixed because at the last, was it either the last election board hearing or the time before when I showed up and I got in trouble for speaking my mind, they said at that meeting that they didn't even have an IT department that could help them with the website.
And which is crazy because we pay crazy amount with tax dollars for that department. I don't understand that at all. So I would just say, find your way, see what you can do. And we'll from there figure out what's going on. But what else did you want to say about?
Well, that's new. So they have been on here playing around.
I was going to say it was not this way on Thursday.
But note, I broke the link they had on here, so now this is maintained under construction for like the last 6 months. Now, to me, I should be able to click a button right here and it take me to a spot. Well, the last one I put the little smiley face in the signature bar and made a reel about it, and then that's when they took it off their website. But I think it should be a follow through. You can't follow through with their complaint process right now. So to me, they still don't have a functioning election complaint process.
So quite the learning experience that we're going to go through. Listen, people, it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. But we are making a difference and things are moving in the right direction because they know enough of us are watching. So
they got a button here too. Who are your elected officials? Wow, looky there.
Yeah, a lot has changed. Agreed. A lot has changed. It's been interesting to watch.
Fill it out. And you print this off. You get your stamp or your seal on it showing that you turned it in. They don't have to answer it. And it can get lost in the sauce. So if you fill one of those out, I suggest emailing it so there's always a virtual trail. Oh, it didn't even share that page. This is what it gave me. That's what I was talking about. So it gives you a form.
Oh, look, it looks just like the 5th district.
Interesting.
Right?
Oh, so see, we can get things done
We
without.
sure can. We absolutely can. So,
Okay, let me do this last thing. I just want to. I can't believe it's kind of been worked on. Why do I got to do a disclaimer? Ah, welcome to Who Are Your Elected Officials. You know what? I do not believe that Diego's name should be there unless it's taking us. Okay, hold on. You know what? That's not even what I thought it was. Like, that doesn't tell us who our elected officials are. So then, if we. What? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. That's it. That's the show, folks. So
okay, I
you
do
guys.
want to bring up, this is my very last thing that I want to bring up. Nicole had shared a post this afternoon, and I want to bring that up before we leave here. And I did share this post to my page on social media, and it had to do with the Knightstown police. And the Knightstown police got in trouble for
I did.
censoring censoring people's comments on their political page. So I think it might be on my Senate page.
Okay.
What I want people to understand, this is kind of interesting because I got a call about Knightstown. And let me tell you about Knightstown. So I want everybody to understand that, again, you cannot censor people from your page. You can't if they're government entities. It's only what the people allow. ACLU is smacking them for censoring or from banning people to their page. Now, I want you to know on the South Ingalls page, this was a whole big deal. And so Joey Hustler, he's an elected official down there. He's like, oh no, I can ban people. And he was banning people. He was blocking people. It was crazy, right? And then we see it with the health department all the time. The health department all the time turns information off, turns information on, lets you comment, lets you not comment. You can't do this. It's either all or nothing. So now that we're making headway with the ACLU, we'll begin to file complaints against the government entities that are turning them off and on and allowing people to comment, or if they're taking people's comments away.
They do it
You
to me all
have
the
the
time.
right to speak. Huh?
I said they do it to me all the time. But then
Yeah, and here's the thing.
ACLU.
The ACLU doesn't cost you. It costs the people who are defending themselves.
Yeah, but you got to get the ACLU to pick up the complaint.
Case. Yes. And so this is one of those times where you really could do this. So I just want people to be more aware of that. If you're seeing it, I would call it out. We now know that it is a violation because the ACLU has picked it up. So that's the one thing I want to tell you. But one last tidbit here, because we're getting coverage from all the way down south, from both the east and the west side of the southern state.
Yep.
Which I just have been absolutely moved by the fact that we are getting that much traction. I mean, this whole 5th district thing has like ignited this county or this state. Like people are watching this whole 5th district and they're just floored by it.
We got somebody wanting to team up with us on Wednesdays for a podcast.
Yeah. So what I want people to understand is the police chief in Knightstown is also the town marshal in Middletown, I believe.
I think you're right.
And so I don't understand how he can carry a full-time job in Knightstown and a full-time job in Middletown. Now you might be able to do that. I don't know. I don't know what the time commitment is. But I just found that very interesting. Look at his salary. It's like $140,000 when you combine the two. I guess he used to be a sheriff deputy in in Henry County and used to be a detective. So it's just kind of interesting. I don't know if anybody has friends over there that wanted to look in that or question that, but that's really interesting. And now you got this. And here's the story. Maybe if he only had one dedicated police area, he might not have this situation he's dealing with ACLU, and he can concentrate on what's going on. I don't know, because I don't know if it was him who turned it off or it was one of his staff that turned it off or banned people.
The article's from 2021, so it's been a while since that was.
Okay.
There might be an update to this.
Well, and so I think he took over in like 2024. I didn't realize it was that old.
It's
So
still relevant though.
yeah. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. I hope everybody has a great Saturday night. We definitely have more stuff that's coming out. I'm going to make a big post again tonight, which I'm telling you right now, if you're a taxpayer, it should bother you. And I am going to start doing from my Facebook lives, instead of Madison County, I'm going to say welcome voters, because I cover more than just Madison County now. And it looks like other counties are picking us up and they're sharing our information. And so we don't want to immediately turn anybody away or off thinking that we only care about Madison County. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope everybody does great. And thank you for listening. Have a good one.
Yep. Thank you guys for showing up, supporting us, sharing us. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thank you very much, ladies and gents, and you have a wonderful day.